Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing our run as Krakow. Last episode we did fight the North German Federation and we did almost bankrupt while doing it, but I think the more the story of the episode was we finally managed to reform the government and get off of monarchy after, being underneath, being inside unacceptable government for basically the entire run because of Austria enforcing government on us and us not wanting to have a devout in as king. Since then, this has kind of been the first time we've been able to make some moves, and I think that this episode we're going to really pop off for two reasons. One, we're getting laissez-faire, and we have a massive investment pool already banked up. Huge. This is going to be really, really, really big, and a lot of our stuff is starting to get profitable now that we actually have a decent amount. Well, we kind of have a decent amount of convoys. We're going to try and do something about that because that's still a bit of a problem. But also, we did get construction 1, and with this we get 10% state construction efficiency. So the combination of having plenty of available peasants, extra construction, and laissez-faire investment, I think that this episode's going to be one where we try and pop off a little bit. We were kind of a little silly of us to take Posen instead of West Prussia when the thing we need most is like convoys, but mistakes were made. Lots of mistakes were made, but let's continue on and crank up for when we get laissez-faire, which I think is going to be very strong now, and very exciting how interventionism seemed better earlier on, and laissez-faire is seeming better now in terms of the context of the game, not like us making a misevaluation. I think laissez-faire is just going to be better for the phase we're entering now, which is the crank-up phase. We get a pro-country lobby event. The impetus for some of these events going to be keen on seeing what all inspires them. This one is inspired by them having better military tech than us, and I think that in general we're going to lean into being allies with both Britain and France. It's unfortunate France is wary against us. We're going to look to join plays on the same side as them. We lost quite a bit of relations with both of them, just kind of annexing territory in Germany, and so hopefully this gives us some more opportunities to have a better sort of situation. So the awkward part about trying to get, buddy-buddy with both France and Great Britain, and it's nice that they have a friendship committee towards us. The awkward part about this is that they tend to be enemies with each other. So while we want their help dealing with Germany and Russia, them being generally not aligned with each other is going to limit us. I think that maybe we fund lobbies in their government at some point in time, and maybe this is better than improving relations. How expensive is this? Yeah, that's quite a bit more than we want to pay. We don't really have the economy to throw around at this point in the game because the start was a little bit slow, and so we are only, in terms of GDP, we're only top 7, and so we're even considerably below Germany, but we have a nicer looking graph than everyone else in terms of upward trajectory. And again, I really think we're going to pop off this episode, but we're still we're still mainly dependent on other people, I think, and maneuvering for getting good plays and this sort of thing. Alright, so this is exactly what we're talking about. We are now genial with France, and the reason why is we sided with them on the same side as them as a play, siding with French Senegal here, and doing this will often reset attitude because we will be getting this attitude score of plus 1,000 because we're on the same side as a conflict. And while sometimes it resets, otherwise, because they still have view as a natural enemy and militarily threatening neighbor. I don't know why they think we're threatening, but sometimes while it resets, this can be a good way to get good attitudes, and then they will improve relations, or you can get relations like trade agreements during this period in time that will stick after, because we really want ticking positive relations with both these guys, so we really want to make sure that we have trade agreements. So already off to a bit of a blistering start, up about 5 million GDP, and construction's gone from about 150 to 300, and we're still running a positive balance. Big part of this is that we can run high taxes, and we're running high taxes without accumulating too much radicals, partially because of our institutions, which is going to be quite nice, and we're just getting ready to pass laissez-faire, after which we're going to increase construction even more, and as we manage to build a whole ton more buildings, I think we're going to also try and build build buildings specifically in other countries so that we can reduce their autonomy there. But also they will become more interdependent with us, and we will get more of an economic dependence on overlord modifier, or a larger one, as we build an overall bigger economy entirely. Now, Austria is really far from us being able to reduce autonomy on them. I think what we've done here coming into the companies is we've done a little bit of a play pattern we haven't normally done before, but we've gone and put in steel for the state construction efficiency before or ahead of putting in coal and sulfur. And I think what we're going to be doing here is we are going to be buying or creating or building coal in Austria, because Austria has a coal company, so they have extra construction and throughput on their coal, and so we might as well just build it in their nation. I think it's a substantive enough advantage that we could go for this play pattern, because they, again, have this coal company, and that is going to be give them a little bit of an advantage, whereas we can just, go after instead the construction speed advantage. A whole part of why our construction was also getting gummed up is we're building all these naval bases all over the place where we have negative state construction efficiency. Boy, oh boy, does you get getting a construction efficiency modifier really, really useful when you have a negative construction efficiency modifier. So largely off of turmoil, because we're just building ports in the middle of nowhere, so really expecting this to take off a little bit. I think that we probably just shouldn't have accumulated so many overseas subjects much earlier on, and that was a little bit too aggressive, but we're fixing the problem. We actually have convoys, a positive convoy balance that is now starting to get dedicated towards trade, and we do have as well more ports in the queue as we have gained additional port levels, so hopefully that's going to be solving soon, and we can also build a navy behind that. Okay, so there is absolutely no shot that we can win this war, but it is interesting that Chile, being, insurrectionary and hating us, has managed to round up together a whole bunch of people who are willing to support their independence, and I think that what we're going to do, we're just going to put in humiliation on Spain for the war goal, but I think that we're just going to back down. We're just going to give into this, because there's no shot that the USA, Russia, and Spain all advancing on this front, that we will be able to enforce anything on Chile before they can enforce on us, even if we were to try and land on them. Also, I'm not even sure we could do that, so I think we're just going to give in, and we're just going to avoid having an expensive war that is not going to get us anything. A little bit unfortunate, but very cool with the mechanics regarding how things are moving, and we're starting to see maybe we have bitten off more than we can chew, in that we have kind of a lot of people upset with us that we'd rather not be. France, they got poor relations with us because they acquired a lot of infamy, and so that's what deleted our trade agreement, which is a bit unfortunate. USA, we just have poor relations with. I think we're going to improve relations with USA. I think that we maybe I think we're stuck in rivaling Spain just kind of as our status quo here, but maybe that was a bit of a mistake. I'm not sure. And I think we're about to enforce here in Siak, and this is going to be pretty nice for us because we are going to acquire some more boats, which is our very favorite. The ability to, maintain convoys. So we're just going to reset some production methods. And then, if I recall correctly, you already have some boats, and so those will employ up and give infrastructure. They don't have any boats, so we'll just add a boat here. And a little bit of a speed bump, us losing Chile, but honestly, the fewer people we have in our block, I think the easier it's going to be for us to hit cohesion. And so maybe having a bunch of subjects like this is not good. It was a little tempting to go for annexing everything, but we won't be able to enforce it before we just get, wrecked by USA, Russia, and everything. But now, ugh. Our diplomat mode does not look very hot. Does not look hot at all. It was really hot before we made a power block, and so maybe it was even a mistake for us to make a power block in its entirety, because everybody loved us before we made the power block, and now things are starting. The walls are closing in a little bit. So Russia decides to thumb our pie yet again here, and this is kind of neat. A lot of this is stemming from us not being able to maintain good enough subject relations, or low enough, if the subjects are low, right? They get less radicals and loyalists. If they're high, they get more radicals and loyalists. They rev, and then this gives opportunities for people to finger your pie. And so this is kind of exactly what's happening right here with these guys. Now, we did get Heavenly Kingdom for free. Ooh, what is this? Oh no. We get a little bit of a Kuski, but the Kuski puts in a theocracy. Puts in the theocrat. Jesus, what a theocrat. To be fair, he is literary. If we get locked in on something, you know... Oh, wait, what happened? Oh, this guy got killed? Can we make a legitimate government with these guys? I don't know if we can. We can reduce autonomy. Right now we're trying to pass multicultural... we could reduce taxes quite a bit. I guess we could suffer this for a little while we try and fight Russia. I think since it's just Russia with these guys and there's no war goals on us, we'll try and fight this out, where we'll just try and halt their advance for as long as possible to try and enforce on this if we can. If Russia doesn't send troops, it should be straightforward. If Russia does send troops, we'll at least try a landing, so... that'll be something. I think we just had a coup succeed and kill the guy who was in charge, who was the previous petite bourgeoisie, and then the petite bourgeoisie left government. That must have been what happened. We have 2 anarchists up at this house, though, and we got a guy who's literary, as one does. I don't know why I thought that they passed theocracy or something like that. But we are trying to rake back some of this diplomatic situation here. I think we just bit off too big of chunks from Prussia, like too quickly in a row, and that kind of made everyone not like us, but it might be a combination of this and diplomatic catalysts and things being different, but it really feels like people have shifted very aggressively towards us. To be fair, we are rivaling both Russia and Spain, so that is, or we're not even rivaling Russia, they just like are determined to violate our pie. Oh, we get the big pain right in the nuts. North Germany is taking this opportunity to declare on us, which of course is smart. I think we're going to decline because Austria is a really nice one, but they are trying to transfer Austria. We will have Austria's help in this war, and we have a little bit of options. I mean, we can go for Danzig. It looks like we can sway some people. It looks like we can sway France. Okay, so maybe we sway France, go for Danzig. Of course, this creates negative relations, but we want this province anyways. It will allow us to build more ports, and it is, well, kind of, if we take Danzig and then liberate Hanover and Elbe or Bremen or something like this, maybe we can landlock them and just kind of eliminate them as a threat. But what we're going to have to do is, whatever's going on with Russia, we're going to have to figure that out before this war pops, which doesn't really give us much time. We are landing here straight away, and so hopefully this works out. Yeah, this is kind of gross. We feel real dog piles right now. Our pie is it's been violated. All right, so we win the Shandong thing, which means we have a truce with Russia, which is both good and bad because we're running out of time to some extent. But this here we got with Germany. We did acquire some infamy. It is for a Prussian. I mean, it's for a Prussian state because it's West Prussia, but it's for a Polish state. But this is the war we have. We managed to sway in a couple guys for Liberate, which is fine by us. And now we have a pretty solid looking front. We already have all of our conscripts mobilized, so we're in pretty good shape. I'm not even sure. I think we're using some conscription edicts, or what are we doing right now? Why are we making so little money? Yes, because we had the revolution thing. And this guy's changed now too. Okay, well now he's cautious, but that's fine with us. Cautious is actually, for the purposes of not getting negative relations with other people, the decrease in infamy cost means you get a decrease in the negative relations hit. So cautious is probably better for trying to rein in our international whatever is going on. We really would like to get something going with France. And to be fair, France hates like everyone, so maybe France, because we have similar hatreds, will be pretty well settled. Great Britain's pretty on our side with some things though, and I think we're going to need a little bit more cozy. We also put in quite a bit more guys into the queue. We're actually going to build up to 50 stack for our main stack. We were planning on for a while now, going into maybe doing national militia. But the thing is, there's like twofold thing going on here, and actually maybe we even go mass conscript. There's a twofold thing here in that it seems to be the case that yo-yo sways, or sways in general, are just a little bit weaker. The AI is not as willing to give them up. The AI is not in control of the wars of their subjects, so you get fewer opportunities. And also, we really need an army, and we don't have enough provinces with a 5 conscript, or with a 5 cap for that we would have with the national militia, with just the 5 cap for barracks max level. I just don't think it's enough. So I think that we're starting to build up a military here in Krakow. Also, we're having a lot more money. It doesn't show right now because we're trying to pass a law that's a little bit sketchy, but okay. Yeah, we're trying to pass multiculturalism, so we need it in order to be legitimate enough to pass it, and just pain. Alright, so we are at a do-or-die situation where either we pass multiculturalism here, or we rev. And I kind of don't want to rev, given how the AI has been behaving. I think if we rev, Russia will side in and just clap our cheeks. So, either we get this here, or we abandon it. So, moment of truth. Alright. Big nice on that. So now we have, instantly get a mass migration. Now we have the ability to get migrants from cultures that were not previously accepted, and we don't have to suppress the petite bourgeoisie anymore. In fact, we can actually form a nice legitimate government with this setup, which I think we're going to do. I'm sure there's some useful law we could pass with this. I think we were thinking of going on to censorship. Everyone who dislikes censorship is pretty happy with us. This will give us access to quite a bit more authority, so this will be pretty nice. And there's nothing, I think, that we see that we are too interested in passing. I think we're okay sitting on census suffrage and having our industrialists be strong, although unfortunately we don't have the old industrialist we had, who was cautious. But if we are going to force people to have our setup in terms of government and people, IGs in the government, we would rather they have industrialists, right? Because these are the guys who can pass the law to open borders. So I think we'll just go on to censorship from here. So we are starting to get flooded with mass migrations, which is very much the idea. If we hover over it, we could see that, yeah, we're getting a ton. I don't think we have too much incorporated that's kind of overseas, if I recall correctly. So it's going to be, a lot of it's going to be kind of centered here, but this is going to give us more juice with which to kind of crank up. Construction's up to about 380 from 150 at the top of the episode, and we have a few more construction sectors in. I think we're going to get up to 400, maybe 500 before the end of this episode. Really going to build up in Silesia quite a bit. We can afford to deficit spend, kind of. I think that we want to maintain at least like a 30% buffer here, just because if the AI goes psychotic against us, this will give us tools to avoid a potential like almost bankruptcy or bankruptcy. So the AI do be wiling out here. We side thinking we're going to get a free Japan with the Japanese revolt in exchange for them becoming our subject, and then France sides against us, which of course sucks. Looks like Russia got swayed in with a transfer Sakhalin, and so now it's just going to be a giant big party. We're going to send over kind of the troops. I don't think we share a border with France. Kind of awkward that we are, okay, we're now cautious with Russia, but we have to fight Russia eventually. We don't want to mix it up with France, but I mean, it's over Japan. I think it's probably worth it. And so we find ourselves embroiled in yet another big war. Meanwhile, Russia just got finished with a war over who gets to control Korea, and it looks like the UK won that war, as both sided in against or into an ongoing revolution with Russia on one side and UK on the other. So things are picking up a little bit. We went to pass. We've still been having trouble with the revs, and to be honest, super negative approval. I think what we're going to need to do is to find an abdication spot sometime soon in order to reset some things. And so I think what we want to abdicate to is probably someone agitating for mass conscription. Ideally someone who's with the literary trait who doesn't have something negative like imposing, because I think that we want to try out mass conscription. I think that this is probably in the realm of what we're looking for. So we'll look for someone with literary or cautious, who we can maybe have as an eventual leader that will also allow us to, or will force a revolution that is kind of in the favor of mass conscription, which we want. So we have a massive movement here, and I think that we're just going to give into the movement and try and pass it and get a new president, or swap off of Council Republic onto Presidential Republic. We're not super married to Council Republic anyways. These guys don't have enough clout, and we're still doing the laissez-faire thing. I think this is fine, and it'll make a whole bunch of people happy, and it'll dramatically decrease the radicalism, because there's a ton of people agitating for it. And the question to some extent is do we want to enact with this guy? And if we enact with this guy, we will have ourselves a cautious leader for at least some time more, and we currently have no infamy, so that's, I think that's a bit of a vibe. I think that's probably what we do, because we will be locking that guy in as the president. This will radicalize the rural folk if we're not legitimate with this situation. Okay, we're legitimate with the sit-up, so this works for us. I think we could even, yeah. Oh no, we can't crank. We wish we could crank. Not quite. Alright, things seem to have calmed down a little bit. We are annexing some guys out here in Indonesia. Just straight up conquest we're looking to do mostly, because I think that just this subjugation into annexation is a little bit rough. I think that we can probably try and push a few more buildings in some of these places. We just reduced autonomy of Transvaal. That's our second autonomy reduction of this run, and eventually we'll get our sweet hands on that sweet gold, but it won't be for some time, it appears. I think we are supposed to have ownership of this building, or we're supposed to have some ownership of this building, but we don't, and the reason being is that every time it revs, which the Transvaalian revs have happened frequently, every time there is a rev, then we lose all the buildings we had built. So that is something to keep in mind, is that building another person's country, you don't want to do it if they're not very stable. So perhaps you don't want to do it if they are in this high bracket of radicalism, because this is going to make it much more likely for them to rebel, which kind of most of our subjects are. But they're starting to come down. They're starting to come down a little bit, and notably Austria, I think that is relatively entangled in our country. They have low supply network. That's another problem, but we have quite a bit of economy, or actually, okay, so we own close to 20% of their GDP, so this is providing some factor, and this is from the coal mines we have built, although eventually we did slot in a coal company. Once we get access to, there's some other companies here that are pretty good, so once we get access to those, maybe we go for it. We had a dream of going for Attica at some point, but Russia looks like they want to defend them, and I'm not sure that we can fight Russia here. Although a lot of people dislike Russia, they're rivaling Germany. Maybe Germany and France and the UK, so maybe we actually just like turn things around with Germany, or try to. I'm not really sure, because we only need one more state from them for Poland. So we actually have a pretty good incentive for staying in on being North Germany's enemy, which is that our anti-German association is filled with a ton of interest groups, and we're getting extra approval from the appeasement on these groups. Let's see if we can see that in the tooltip over on what they have. So I think that these guys were in there, and we will see, let's see. If we look down here, I don't see it. Okay, so +6 from the appeasement of political lobbies. This is doing a ton to offset our huge amount of radicalism. Which, to be fair, we should... This is even with max level home affairs, man. This is so wild. I think we're just going to go with that institution. But, so this is a little bit of an interesting thing. We just appeased them by getting Hanover a trade agreement with them, which is making the lobby more happy with us. I think that we have a truce up with Russia in September of this year, and I think we kind of have to fight them coming on up with the plan to recruit up maybe 150 to 200 battalions, at least kind of match their numbers, and then try and get some sort of useful sway against them. They have 273 battalions. We have considerably less, but we have a whole ton in the queue. And following Zeppelin's tech, I think we're going to research trench warfare. I think this is going to be for next episode, though. This episode, we've had a massive crank up. We've nearly doubled our GDP here. I think we started on like 40 million GDP and like 150 construction, and we moved up to being on 500 construction and 70 million GDP in terms of like relative GDP strength. We went from, I think, being 7th to, okay, now we're 6th, but not that we've passed up North Germany, to be fair. There's a good reason we passed them up. AIs have been kind of doing some interesting stuff. It's been very dynamic. This episode's been very dynamic with a lot of back and forth and this type of stuff, and we had to give up Chile, which is like not a play pattern we're used to, but it was an interesting one. I think that once we get onto onto presidential republic, I think we go mass conscript. I don't know if we're gonna hit the mass conscript in time to fight Russia, though, but I think we could fight them with pro-army. The thing is they are kind of busy in they're doing a lot of stuff right now, and I think they're fighting the UK in one of these wars. No, that's France is fighting the UK, and so we'd really like some help. It would be really nice if we could at some point get an alliance with the UK, but we haven't been able to do that yet. I mean, maybe there's ideological differences in a different block are two pretty strong modifiers. I think it was probably a mistake for us to form our block in the first place, because we're not even getting, we don't have enough coherence to like really push any of these principles. So it might have been even better for us to join someone else's block, probably not the military treaty one. This one probably would have been a pretty, well, which block should we have joined is an interesting question. I guess it's the United Front, probably. But we don't want to be forced into defensive wars with them, so it's kind of an interesting one. Or even just staying independent. Everyone was loving us, now it's psychotic. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing, and then next episode we will be back with probably a war against Russia. We'll see.